I'm Nathaniel Dell. Welcome down the line. Today on the phone, we have Rich Bauer, the General Manager and CEO of Valley Rural Electric. Hi, Rich. How are you?
Good, Nathaniel. How are you today?
Fantastic. Thanks for taking the time to talk with us today.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, you've been the CEO and General Manager of Valley Rural Electric Co-op for 8 years now, since 2013. What are your day-to-day operations?
As far as mine are, it's turned more into a people person more than anything right now because of 3 districts and 3 different sets of personalities in each district. And just managing the day-to-day operations is probably my biggest challenge every day, and that's probably what I handle mostly, is just trying to keep everything coordinated and moving along while dealing with the policies and the money issues. But I would say that's probably my day-to-day. It was the life in the day here for me is more dealing with people and dealing with each of the districts, making sure everything is smooth and transitions.
Boy, sometimes people are the hardest things to deal with, aren't they?
They are by far. There's days, honestly, that you really wish you could just go back to doing, sitting in a cubicle by yourself and doing work there. But it's also rewarding. There's days that are wonderful with it, too. So you take the good with the bad.
Rich, how was your career? Where did you start out? Like, what was your first job, and what led you on this path to where you are today?
Well, interesting. I started fresh out of college. I took the first job that I was offered, which was I worked for a defense contractor down in Washington, D.C. on actually the CVN-76 aircraft carrier's weapon systems. So I wasn't there for very long because I had put out other resumes whenever I was graduating. And surprisingly, I got a call from Cape Hatteras EMC in North Carolina. They're EMCs, Electric Membership Cooperations, instead of RECs like they are in Pennsylvania. And was asked to go down there. They were looking for a system engineer. So I was only at the defense contractor for about 6 months. And then I was lucky enough to get the job at Cape Hatteras EMC down on Hatteras Island on the Outer Banks. So I went there. And that's kind of what started me into the cooperative world and really lit my fire to be with the cooperatives, because in all honesty, when I first got out of college, even though my parents were a member of Valley REC at the time, I really didn't know what an electric cooperative was, other than it was an electric company, and got my eyes opened. And so that's kind of where it started.
A lot of people don't know what a co-op is. It is kind of crazy. You would think they do. They think power companies are all the same, Penelec and Allegheny, and that they're all the same, but they're not. Education. What kind of education did you have to start your career off?
Well, I went to Penn State University and got a Bachelor of Science, a BS in Electrical Engineering. So, and again, why electrical? Honestly, I wasn't sure. Electricity always fascinated me, but I knew I wanted to be an engineer. At one point, I didn't even know what type I wanted to be, because I always like to take things apart, figure out why things work, why they don't work, and I like to play around with things. So I always knew I wanted to be an engineer, but electrical kind of fascinated me, so I kind of took that path. And like I said, got my BS in electrical engineering from Penn State. And from that move forward, I mean, I had taken classes up to the point, I'm just a few short of an MBA. Not that I really need that now, but that's the steps I took to get where I am as far as the education purposes.
Now, are you happy with the education you got? Did it fulfill your expectations, or did you find it lacked in some aspects?
Honestly, it lacked, and the reason I say that is you don't know what type of, and I'll go from the electrical engineering standpoint, and I think this is with any college you go to. Even when you go in electrical, there's hundreds of different fields or directions you can go with electrical engineering. You know, it can be anywhere from working in a micro lab, working on a computer chip, to video game designs, to power companies, to plant manufacturing. So they give you a very broad perception of everything. Even the electrical, you get all the formulas and how voltage works and how this happens and resistors and that. But I think there should have been a little bit more hands-on learning, and that's one of my big points. I always tell my kids and anybody else I've dealt with, I've done interviews on different college campuses and job fairs, they teach you to think. And that's what I guess I look at. They really you calculus problems that are 4 pages long. But I always said to myself, what in the heck am I ever going to do with this calculus problem in the real world? Absolutely nothing, to be honest with you. But what it did is it taught you how to prepare, taught you how to think, and taught you how to problem solve. So that was the good part of it, but I still think it was lacking. I wish they would have added more hands-on physical attributes to the course instead of just book learning.
Now, in your entire career from beginning to end, is there any one point that you can point to and say, this is the point in my career where my eyes were opened and I knew the path I was going to take? Is there any turning point that you can point to that you can say that this is what brought me to where I am today?
I mean, there is for me. And even though I went to Cape Hatteras right out, I got down there in '93, and I was wet behind the ears. I came out of college. I had the book smarts to get through EE, but the electrical world was new to me. And the gentleman that hired me, I was there for 6 months, and the CEO there took a different job in Virginia. And we were just getting started with a brand new, if you've ever been to the Outer Banks down on Hatteras Island, there was a 34.5 kV power line that served down through the villages down on Hatteras Island. They were going through their biggest project they ever dealt with. We were upgrading the 35 to 115 kV, building 2 brand new 115 kV substations, a step-down substation, so 3 brand new substations. The line, and my CEO, who was also an engineer, left. And basically, I hate to say, I was thrown into the fire as far as, here's this project, now you're in charge. I was still young. I'll be first one to admit, I was still inexperienced, and it scared me a little bit, but it just got me to work a little bit harder, and it got me to understand in a very short amount of time how everything worked. And that was my turning point, because once I saw that I had to manage a multi-million-dollar project, and people were looking to me, and I was still new, but I was the person they had to look to, and I didn't want to let anybody down. And I think that was the point in my career where I said, this is what I want to be, the person that they're going to look to. I want to be the person that's going to try to help and get things done right. So as far as my own personal experience, being thrown into the fire of a huge project that I truly was probably at that point not ready for, was probably my biggest turning point, because I didn't want to let anybody down. And so that got me hungry to keep moving forward in the electrical industry and with the co-ops, and I wanted to work with the co-ops. So,
I've heard some say that greatness is handed to some. Some people are born with it, and greatness is thrust upon some. And it sounds like it was thrust upon you, and you've done very well with it.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. The project went extremely well. If you still go down there, the same lines and poles and substations that I designed and helped put in are still there, and it's held up through hurricanes and different things. So I'm very fortunate. I was very fortunate of the path that I got thrust into. So yes, thank you.
Of all the people you've known and you've met in your career, and even your whole life, is there any one person that motivated you more or had said something to you? Is there one influential person you can point to that gave you the motivation and the insight to bring you to where you are today?
Believe it or not, the manager that left me. Because, surprisingly, I found out when I got the job at Hatteras, he was actually a Pennsylvania boy just like me. And he in talking to him and through the career, he said, I see it in you, I know you can do this. And he would give you the shirt off his back in a heartbeat, and I found out he wasn't and this is by no means a disrespectful, he wasn't the smartest guy. He wasn't, but he was the hard worker. And, he was a smart guy, tremendously, but growing up, he didn't do well in high school. He told me, he said it wasn't for him, but he got through college, and he was an electrical engineer also. But he earned it, and he worked hard, and he kept telling me, you can realize your dreams, decide what you want to do, and you just got to put your nose to the grindstone and do it, and don't let anybody, hold you back. If this is what you want, you go for it, and, no matter what the obstacles. And even though he left, in some aspects, I think he was training me in a way, and we've remained friends still to this day. I mean, he's retired now from the cooperative in Virginia where he went, and I still consider him one of my best friends. I would do anything for him, and he would do anything for me.
You know, I think we all have somebody in our life, even if we don't remember who it was. I think there's always somebody that helps push us along a little bit in the direction they think we need to go, and I think everybody needs that. Everybody needs to realize that there's somebody out there that helps give them a little push.
And all they need to do is ask or put forth the effort, and I agree with you 100%.
What traits do you think, or what would be the most important trait you believe a lineman has to have to make it in this? I guess what I'm trying to say is, what do you think makes a good lineman in our industry today?
Okay, that's a tough one, but if you talk to anybody, any place I've ever worked, personality and attitude. You know, I can find, and people say, well, what are you looking for? You know, do you want a hard worker? Of course I want somebody that's going to work hard, but I want somebody that's going to work safe. But more important to me, I always say I can teach anybody anything if they have the right attitude and personality. And I would say to any lineman out there, yes, I understand, hey, I can put a pole, you know, I can go up a pole in X amount of seconds on my hooks, or I can do this. That's wonderful, and I expect that. That's what linemen do. But if you just want to stay status quo and always be a follower, then that's what you'll always be. But if you have the right attitude and personality, you're willing to listen, willing to learn, willing to take advice, and sometimes willing to give the advice whenever they'll tell you to do something one way and you say, you know, this may be better. Don't be afraid to step up. But if they have the right attitude and they want to better themselves and want to do this, I'll hire those people 10 times over somebody who can, you know, put a pole in the ground faster than anybody else, or climb a pole, or operate a bucket to the certain extent, because those people will get there with the right attitude and personality. So those are my two biggest traits, and I tell all my linemen that. And even when we look for people to ask, they always say, what do you look for? I look for attitude and personality. You got to be a team player, and you got to want to be there. You got to want to be working at the co-op. You got to love your job, and that's important to me.
I agree. I mean, no matter how fast you are, how efficient you are, we all have to go home.
Yes, that is the number one goal, is that you go home at the end of the day. And no offense, I don't want to be, because in North Carolina it did happen, and it was a strange accident where a contractor closed in a line on one of my guys, and I made that trek to the house. Thank goodness he lived and actually came back to work eventually, but I had to be the one to go to that house and talk to his spouse, and I never want to do that again. And so the attitude has to be there, the personality has to be there, and all in all, you want to make sure not only you, but the guy that's working beside you, they go home at the end of the day. You don't get a second chance a lot of times as an electrical line worker. I can make a mistake at work, and I may, maybe we lose money at the co-op, or I made a bad call and this happened. With a lineman, most of the time, if you have a bad judgment and you make a mistake, it turns out to be fatal. And that's what I never want to see.
I agree. I've heard stories of the accidents, and the stories of, just like you said, having to make the trek to the home of the lineman, and that is a long, dark, lonely drive. I've heard the same thing from everybody else. It's one of the worst things you'll ever have to endure if it happens.
It is, by far.
But what is your take on the word respect? It gets thrown around a lot with guys with seniority and the rank and file of anywhere you'd work, period. But what is your take on the word respect?
And I'm glad you asked this, because the respect is very near and dear to me in the electric business with all the different positions. You wouldn't believe the number of times I've heard from, and I'll use this one as a case, I've heard linemen say, well, we're more important than the billing clerks or the marketing people or the accountants. This co-op can't operate, or this place can't operate without us, the linemen. And I've heard it from other departments too, but I'm just using this as an example. And if I ever hear that from any of my people here, and you can ask, as a lineman, and I'll use the example I gave, that's right, you go out and you put the lines up and you make the lines work. But guess what? If we don't collect the bills from the members in the billing department, and then they transfer it over to the accountants, and we get it marketed out the right way so that they can write you a paycheck, and then you can go home and support your family. The respect is every department in our business, and I preach this wholeheartedly, is as important as the other. There is not one position here that is more important in my eyes than any of the other ones, and you should respect every other position that's here. And we've actually had it where people have gone out to, billing clerks have gone out to see what linemen do. The linemen have stayed in to see what billing clerks do. And each job has its own unique characteristics, but they're all important. And the respect factor, there's not a person here I would ask to do something that I would not go out and do myself, or haven't gone out and done myself here, and vice versa. And to give respect, you got to get respect, you got to give respect, and that's important to me. And yes, there is a piece. I'm still from the era that you respect your elders. That doesn't mean you have to bow down, but the respect factor, because they have lived longer, they have experienced more things. Respect what they have to say, but still be your own person. But respect is extremely important here. Excuse me, and I'm not saying that from a standpoint that I expect the guys to respect me, but I give them the respect. And I hope if you talk to any of my linemen or any of my office personnel here, they would tell you the same thing. I'll be the first one out there jumping in a ditch with them if they need help with a conduit, or I'll be the first one going over and calling a member if their member's giving that person a problem, because their jobs are tough. Every person here has such a critical in the timeline of how the cooperative functions. You delete any one of these departments, and the others are going to falter. So it's so important that we have to give respect to every department. And like I said, I preach it wholeheartedly here, that nobody is better than anybody else here, and we all are going to work together to get the one common goal. It's Valley Rural Electric. It's not even our districts. It's Valley. So I don't want to hear that, well, we do it this way in this district and we do it this way in this district. No, we do it the Valley way, because we're going to all do it together, and we're going to respect one another while we do it. So respect is extremely important. That's a great question to ask.
I love your answer. I wholeheartedly agree. The co-op cannot work with the gear missing. You have to have all of the gears in order for things to move. If you take one piece of the machine, it no longer functions.
Exactly, and it'll just fall apart. And that's what I tried to explain. I mean, because I said the guys aren't going to work if they don't get a paycheck. So, in the same token, they get the paycheck from our billing clerks who collect the money, who turn it to the account. So it's all one finely oiled machine, and every part is as important as the next part.
Rich, is there anything that you think I might have missed that you would like to share, that you think maybe new apprentices need to hear coming in, or even guys that have been doing it for 1,000 years? Is there anything that you would like to add to this that you would like them to hear?
Well, if I could just want what you talk there, just quickly, because I don't want to take up a lot of your time, but for a new apprentice, look and listen. There's a wealth of knowledge, whether you're in an IOU, whether you work for the local, whether you're at a co-op, there's a wealth of knowledge that's out there and available. And I have never, very rarely have I ever met a senior lineman or an elder lineman who would not love to share his knowledge, his experience, and some of the things with somebody who would, one, respect him and want to hear it. So if you were a young person coming in, don't come in thinking you know it all and you can do this. Look and listen and be respectful. Be your own person, and make sure, but talk to the older gentleman, because as I tell my crew leaders, they're like, well, this crew leader, I'm using you for your brain as a crew leader. Not that the brawn isn't there, to help do this. I understand that some of my crew leaders but I don't want the guys to think I won't do it. I said, you wouldn't be put in this position if we didn't think you would. But I want you there for your insight, for your knowledge, and to help these younger linemen work their way through, because the knowledge that you've gained over the years, it's all a cycle in the big picture. I'm sure that my elder linemen have the same feelings that these new linemen coming in had whenever they were younger. So don't be afraid to ask questions and look and listen. And as far as the older linemen go, take and tutor and take somebody under your wing to show them and pass your experiences. One of the things, and I'm sure you've seen it, over the years, but what really shocked me is that the linemen who have been getting hurt over the past, throughout the country, have been getting burned. They're not the young linemen, and they're usually not the old linemen. They're the linemen who probably have 10 years of experience. And honestly, when I was that age, I felt invincible. And what I would tell for those linemen who are coming up through, who are probably 10 years into the business, and you're extremely knowledgeable, you're strong, you're good to go. Don't miss the shortcut there. Don't skip over the details. Don't try to take a shortcut, because it's usually those linemen who do a routine every day. And I talk to my guys about a lot of times when you drive into work every morning. Sometimes I'll sit there and say sometimes I don't even remember passing by something, because you're in a routine. You do it every day, so you get so used to it. And with electrical work, you go up a pole, you think, yep, that's dead because we open up the switch. You don't test it, you don't ground it, and you think it's dead because 99.9% of the other times that happened, it's dead, but for this reason, it's backfed. And if they get into a routine and they go up, and that's where they get into trouble. So I would just say for the middle linemen, please take your time and make sure you keep following the steps that to get through. But I hate to throw that as a safety aspect into what you asked, but to me that is so critical. I never would have guessed. Most people would think, oh, it's the young linemen, the first couple year linemen. Those are the people that get hurt, get burnt. It usually isn't, because they're scared. I mean, and if you're not scared of electricity, then really you shouldn't be here, because I'm still scared of electricity, and I've dealt with it for 30-some years. But electricity, the more I know about it, the more it can be scary. And I think the younger linemen, they're still a little nervous about it. They haven't had the experience with it. But as you get to that middle section, sometimes you forget. And I guess that would be something I'd pass on to those people out there, 10 years experience, is please don't skip a step. Make sure you take your time. Because, again, the number one goal is to get everybody home. So for the younger guys, look, learn, and listen. The middle guys, try not to skip steps. And the older guys, tutor somebody. Take somebody under your wing, because we are going to continue. This tradition has to carry on. We're going to be here. And you want to have the best people you're going to work with, because it's a family. I'm sorry I rambled on there.
Oh, no. This is... I appreciate all of it. That's what this is for. Do you have any questions for me?
No, but I would say on the big picture, thank you for doing this. For everybody out there that's going to be listening to this or seeing this, and I've seen some of your other ones, we don't get the electric co-ops, the line workers, the line personnel, not from billing clerks to the marketing to every office in the cooperatives, and I'm sure in the IOUs too. A lot of times, we're the unseen necessity, is what I like to call it, is everybody expects when they turn the switch, the lights go on. But a lot of times they don't know what's all involved. And for you putting a show on like this, or a talk, to even call out and ask people about some of these things, it's bringing more light and to get more people to see it, to hear it, and maybe to get more people involved in electric co-op, because it is hard to find linemen. And I'll use that position. Some of the billing clerks and things like that, we can find people that are willing to do that. But a lineman is a very distinct, specialized field. And, that is a big concern nationwide, but even here, it is a concern, and you want to get somebody that you really trust and you like, that has the right attitude and personality. And by you putting this on, it's bringing more people to at least see it and maybe get an interest in it, or maybe they know somebody, or just giving the respect where the respect's due, because linemen are some of the toughest. I'm going to go to the linemen. They're some of the toughest people I've ever met in my life. And they'll go out in every condition imaginable, and a lot of times not because they get paid to, but because they want to. And so I just appreciate any positive advertising or marketing for the line worker and the electric co-ops. To me, is a blessing. So like I said, I'd like to thank you for doing it. So I know it's not a question, it's just a comment, but I really do appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate it, Rich. I really do. From being a contractor for so long, I've got to see both sides of the fence. The office personnel and management, and the linemen and the outside contractors. I've met them and seen them all. So it's a little different for me when I came in to be a lineman at a cooperative. I already saw the relationships I had, and it seemed to me that the mutual respect was missing, and the actual information was missing. Not everybody knows what everybody else does, and even people outside the cooperatives don't seem to have a grasp on how cooperatives work. You know, we're not like an IOU or a contractor. It's a much different animal.
Absolutely. So, you're right. Most people don't recognize it. It's just a power company. It's who I pay my electric bill to.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't even know that Penelec's separate.
Right. Yeah, I agree, and I've heard that a lot. You know, like, well, you're all the same. No, we're not. And, you know, you try to put it out, and it's hard to reach sometimes because in today's technological world, you have people that don't care. They sign up electronically. They never even want to come in to see it. They don't care if they're an owner. All they want to do is pay their bill. And then you got the people that are still out there that were when the co-op came in and turned their lights on for the first time. And, you know, they have a different respect factor for the co-op than somebody who, well, darn right, I need it, and I need it on tomorrow because I can't be without my Netflix or my internet. So I need the power, or if the power goes out because we have an ice storm, a lot of times that doesn't matter to them. They want their power on because they're missing some of their technological advances that are out there. And, you know, it's hard to, we have a large mix of people, of members out there, and it's very difficult sometimes to get that message across, but you're absolutely right. Everything you said is spot on.
Rich, who is the man behind your desk? What kind of things, what's your passion? What do you do in your spare time?
For me, I say this with 100% pride, I am a redneck country boy at heart. I grew up in a rural area, hunt and fish. That's my part. I mean, archery hunting is my number one passion by far. I love to hunt, love to fish, like to spend time in the woods. Honestly, I hate cities. I hate dealing with cities. I like my space. So I'm a very outdoors person, and I was very big into athletics, and all my kids, between football, baseball, basketball, softball, wrestling, never missed a match or a game of any of my kids. And I tell my people here the same thing. This is a second family, but you only get to see your kids race once and grow up once. So if you need to take off for a game, you go. You know, I don't want you missing your kids' things because work will still be here tomorrow. And probably my biggest pride, if I had anything to say that I'm most proud of, is I am a lot of times considered one of the guys, or one of the girls, one of the guys, one of the family. My people here know I won't ever ask them to do anything I wouldn't do right beside them. And people say, well, sure. And I'm like, no, if the floor needs swept, I'll sweep the floor. If the dishes need put away in the break room, I'll put the dishes away. If we're out in a line, I'll wire up a control for them, you know, while they're out there. You know, I was running wire in a new substation we just built here with the guys. I want to be that person that they can look to and say, he's not above us, which I'm absolutely not. We're all on the same level. And I want it to be that way, because then my door is always open, and they tell me that. That's one nice thing. They say that your door is always open, and I have linemen come in here almost daily to just chit-chat, you know, or to give me an update on one of their kids' basketball games or anything like that. And to me, being one of the guys, and I say the guys term, both guys and girls, but being one of the group means probably more to me than anything, because I am by no means, you know, maybe, yeah, I get to make the final decision on things, and I understand that, but I never want to be that person that they think he's here and he doesn't understand what we go through. It's so important for me to go visit go sit with the employees, talk to what they're seeing, what they're experiencing, what they're having. That's me in general, because I preach this is a family. The cooperative Valley Rural Electric to me is my second family. And if you look at the true number of waking hours, and I say this to my employees all the time, you spend more time with your Valley family than you do with your own family. And in that turn, and if you're here for a long time, your waking hours, this is the people you got to rely on. So if you don't like it, please find a job you do, because life's too short to be miserable if you're not here. So we have fun. and we like to, we do we have cornhole tournaments, we do different things here, we do company picnics, we do a lot of different things outside of work to try to get more people just to be comfortable and relaxed around each other, because this is our family. This is my second family, without a doubt. So that's probably what I'm most proud of, is I think I've instilled that here in a lot of people, and a lot of people are very comfortable to just come up and plop down in my office and ask me questions, or what's going on, because there's really nothing that we can hide here. It's all we're all one. So that's probably my biggest pride moment from here, is if I can leave a legacy at all, I hope it's they realize that I would do anything that I wouldn't ask them to do anything I wouldn't do, and I was always there to help out if they needed something. So that's me in a nutshell.
Well, Rich, I appreciate your time. Rich Bauer, everybody.
Daniel, I really do appreciate it. Again, thank you so much for doing this. It's very nice that somebody is putting the co-ops and the linemen in a spotlight where they really need to be.
Well, thank you for your support, Rich. I appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. And if you ever need anything, Nathaniel, please just give me a call. Let me know.
All righty. I'd like to thank Rich Bauer for his time for his interview today. I really enjoyed speaking with him. I've never got the chance to meet Rich in person, even though I've worked on Valley's property as a contractor. Now, Valley is a larger co-op in our area, having 3 separate districts: Shade Gap, Huntington, and Martinsburg. So, it's a little more for Rich to bring together 3 different districts, which is just like 3 different cooperatives, to bring them together in that family atmosphere, which he does very well. I've spoken to some of the linemen that work there and other people that work there and have dealt with Rich, and they all say the same thing. Great guy, great character, and he commands respect. He commands respect by treating others with integrity, the way he wants to be treated. Carries himself very well. It was a pleasure talking to him. I really enjoyed the fact that he has passion for his work. We all have our passions at home. We like to hunt. We like to fish. We work on cars, ride motorcycles, whatever it may be. But he's really got a passion for his work. You can tell he really enjoys it, and he gets a great bit from it. He's also an outdoorsman like a lot of linemen are. I am not, but Rich is. He likes to hunt and fish, says that's where he spends most of his time, his personal passion at home. That, and with his children, watching sports, which a lot of parents do. We all love our kids regardless. So, again, I want to thank Rich for his time. Great interview. We hit a lot of good points. He was very insightful. I loved how he said about the older linemen to teach the young ones, and the younger linemen to listen. Even though you may not like it or may not want to follow it, at least listen, take it, and then see if it pertains to you and it's something that you think would help you along your way. If anybody else has anything they want to hear or see, anything you think I missed, if you have a question for Rich and you want me to forward it to him, I can forward it to him, get you an answer. If you have a question for me, drop me an email, nddowntheline@gmail.com. Drop a comment in the comments box. Get a hold of me however you want to get a hold of me, and I will be sure to get back to you. Until next time, everybody, stay aware, stay safe, and see you down the line.